Hi, I'm Kelly Bassetti Primo, and welcome to my podcast, Learning Curves, where I bring the small business community direct to you. In my podcast, Learning Curves, we learn about all the unique services that businesses have to offer, and we also learn about the different challenges that businesses go through. In times, businesses go through several different ups and downs, and we talk about the learning curves that we all go through and how we address those. I hope you enjoy my podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Learning Curves. Ladies, I have a great treat for you today. I have Mr. Nick Masset here with me today, the owner of Coast To Coast Barnwood here in Tampa, Florida. And he is a great friend of mine and also one of my clients. I have to say that I've done a lot of business with him. If you come into Second Soul Studios and CEA Marketing, my agency, you're going to see his Barnwood all over my agency. We have it on the walls. We have it outside on the building. It's beautiful, authentic Barnwood that you can get from him at his store, and it's amazing. So, Nick, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your company?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today, Kelly. This is a treat for myself.
Yay. Been wanting to get you on the show for a while now.
Absolutely. Well, it's nice because I live right down the street, too, so we can get used to doing these.
That's right.
So, yes, I am the owner of Coast To Coast Barnwood here in Florida. We have been in business for about coming on about 5 years now. We source all of our materials from the Midwest, Kentucky, Ohio, Missouri. We get those products from up north. These are all American-made barns that have, beautiful characteristics and quite the charm in the cosmetic world. So we take those products, we bring them down here, and we carry a large variety of authentic reclaimed barnwood. Everything from the barn siding that comes off of the barn, the beams that are all structural beams for the barn, flooring, rafters. All the material can be reused. It's all precisely selected to be able to either mill or clean up and use for any residential, commercial designs. It can be a DIY product. We sell everything from one board up to 10,000 feet. And
yeah, there's a lot of fun things you can do with barnwood these days.
So many fun things. I mean, you never run out of ideas, and it's always challenging us because we want to keep growing and scaling to a degree where we have all different sorts of materials that can be reused for, again, residential, people's homes, businesses. We love what you've done here. It was a fun project putting it together and all the wonderful designs you put throughout.
Thank you. Yeah, I get a lot of compliments. We built custom barnwood doors downstairs in the studio, and I get so many compliments on those doors. And we do a lot of photo shoots right in front of them.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. It's
a great background, too. Yeah, I mean, they're functional doors. They're big, heavy doors that will hold up for, the end of time, just as if this barnwood has coming from, its sole purpose. So
I know it's cool that it's take a part of history, that barn that was probably there for 100 years, and we're able to preserve it and keep it and put it in your home or your office, and it's a piece of art also.
It really is. It's just so unique, the characteristics to it. Every piece has its own different look. We almost say, like, when you're pulling through a pallet, it's like Christmas morning, every piece is like a new present. And you can use it in so many different ways. But a lot of our staple products are our resawn barn siding. We carry that in multiple different colors, from grays, browns, whites, reds. You can even do dry brushing on it because the material already has the character, and it can be repurposed and designed in such a way to look more contemporary, more modern, traditional. A lot of people think, oh, it's barnwood, it's old, it won't go with our home design. Well, let me help talk you through that, because I've come to find that I am a designer in my day and age these days with the business. And it's wonderful. We work with a lot of customers that just love the product. We talk them through a lot of the projects because some people's inspirational ideas or their different perceptions are sometimes wrong. There's so many different ways you can use this wood. a lot of what we sell down here in Florida are grays and whites because it's got that coastal appeal. The grays have been trending for the last few years now, and I think they're still trending, and it's a beautiful look that will continue to go on. Same thing with our beams. Our beams and our resawn barn siding. And let me step back a little bit.
I love the beams also.
Yes, the beams are beautiful. The beams are beautiful. But with the resawn barn siding, it's nice because we process it through a mill that we're partnered with over in Tampa. Actually, a good friend of mine that I grew up with that just so happened when I got into the barn world, it was a nice marriage due to he mills at such a high capacity and has the machines that can mill to precise specs. So with the reclaimed barn siding, we take that, we run it through a straight line saw, we cross cut it, and then come back and rip it. So you get both sides of the boards. Then we bring it back to our business location, we process it and prepackage it, and it's all you would need would be your total square footage, and we can put together the perfect blend that's going to work, beautiful in your home or business.
Yeah, you have a showroom on Hillsborough Avenue.
Yes, showroom. We were just right down the street here from you, but we were a little blocked by the frontage road, and we know a lot of people here want to get places fast, and they don't want to just stop off. So for me, it was the expanding of our business and to get on a main drag. We were right off of Tampa Road in the West Chase area.
That's a great location.
So we get a lot of traffic coming through there, and we do find that we get people from all over the state of Florida that come and visit us because we arguably could be one of the biggest reclaimed barnwood businesses in Florida, and we look to service all of Florida. And
yeah, there's not a whole lot of competition in this area, is there?
Not so much. What's neat about our area is you find that there's a lot of these architectural salvage places, and those are so neat in themselves because it's history, and there's so many different, I call it artifacts, relics, I don't know, things that are 100, 200, 300 years old. That
like our friend Robin owns
our friend place. Robin over in Tarpon Springs, and there's quite a few just in that area, and a lot of it complements each other. I think people really hold on to the fact of history, and it's nice because we get a lot of people from the Midwest, Northeast that move down here to our melting pot, and they want to see a lot of they want to use a lot of products that they either grew up on a barn in the country, and they want to bring a piece of that history into their home so they feel like they're back home, but being here in Florida.
It's amazing some of the products that you can that they're pulling out of homes and reconstructing, and the quality is so much better than what you could get at a Home Depot. Even when it's 100 to 200 years old, it's way better quality. It
is. Well, what you'll find at Home Depot, it's a lot of, they take green lumber and then they beat it up a little bit, slap a little bit of fresh paint on it, and it looks like reclaimed wood, but it's not the authentic wood. And typically it's priced higher as well. So that's what's nice about being here in Tampa. We have a full showroom. We carry all of our products, a wide variety. We've got a great staff when you come in through the door, and we can, explain all the different products that we have and where it comes from and what it can be used for, and help inspiration for people to make their buying pleasurable.
It absolutely is. It's fun what you can do when you think about design with barnwood and how it really brings a room to life. All the rooms throughout my office are a little bit different.
Yes.
They have a different feeling. Like in this, up here in the studio, we have the barnwood, and it's actually on the walls, and it doesn't look like an old farmhouse. It just has a fun contemporary look, but it just brings something more to it. Makes it like fresh and creative looking.
Yes, and that was something that you came up with. You had a vision, what you wanted to do, and we walked you through the process and showed you how easy it is. I think a lot of people just get stuck in thinking, oh, it's too complicated, or it's too busy, or it's not going to fit with our desired look. But at the end of the day, look how everything turned out.
A little bit of paint does wonders on everything.
It really does.
We put paint on a lot of the barnwood that you brought over here, and up here we have a lot of the whitewash
You did the whitewash room,
whitewash room.
and then which is kind of like your nice like sitting area.
Yes.
And then you have the other room back here where you use the authentic black. I think.
Which is more rustic looking.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have the room out front, which is more for the ladies. And if the men want the more rustic looking, they'll have an office just for them here.
Yeah.
So there's kind of something for everyone. In my office, I also use the whitewash on the walls. And then it was fun outside. We wanted to have some of the wood that we put outside, and we just put little brushes of, I wanted red and green on the natural wood. So the installer painted the wood. We left some of it natural and some of it painted, and it looks amazing. I love it.
It helps it pop. You know, it gives it a new identity. Not that it wasn't already cool in itself.
Yeah.
And that's what's neat about the reclaimed wood is each color usually had a purpose. They painted those barns such a way due to whether it were tobacco barns. I think they painted them black because they wanted those barns to get more warm, so then it would dry out the tobacco leaves.
That's interesting.
You get the gray from over time. It's the UV rays that give it that nice, beautiful silver sheen, and then the reds. We all know there's red barns all over the place, and it's something to do with rust, I think, but it's a fun business to be a part of because we know that we're a green company. We are repurposing, recycling lumber. We're not going down, cutting down trees and damaging the environment. This is something that is reusable, sustainable, and really can transform your home.
Probably when they built those barns 100 of years ago, I can imagine like the farmers being out there and building the barns themselves with the wood, and each barn has its own story to it.
It does.
Like the wood. I love the wood that has the holes in it, different size holes and little cracks and things like that. That's what you want.
And back to what I was saying before, every piece is so unique, and going back to the beams, what we were talking about, hand-hewn beams are so cool because it's almost like Paul Bunyan style back in the day, just chopping down a tree, a big, round, massive tree, and then from there they take that round tree and axe it just by using an axe because they didn't have any powered tools at that time. So they had to turn this one big, massive tree into one square block so they can build the structure of these barns. So the time, the labor, the blood, the sweat, the tears, it's really, we like to say often replicated but never duplicated.
Right.
Right? So it can't be duplicated. Every beam is so different, and those are our hand-hewn beams. And then next is the rough-sawn beams, as in the more sawmills started coming into play to where they would rough-saw them, so they were chewed up a little bit, and they give so much more character too. Cracks, knot holes, mortise and tendons, just adds flavor to really any application you're putting it to.
That's nice. If you put this in your house or in your office, you'll have a completely different look if you're going for that than having it just be the same old thing that somebody can go to Home Depot and buy. You're going to have your own unique look. And also, it's very custom looking as well. Very natural.
Totally, yes. It has its own identity, like we're saying, and a little bit of what you were speaking on earlier. It is a conversation piece. It is a statement piece. Those barn doors, they are a statement piece. They really, I'm sure that conversation comes up quite often when you have people that come in. And the neat thing about barn doors is they can be built with so many different designs. You can do check patterns, cross patterns, any really pattern you want to go with, and it's as unique as it comes.
Absolutely. And I know that you also have, if someone comes in there to buy from you, you have installers that can help kind of make if you have something in mind, they can make that a reality, which is nice.
Yes. So when you come into the showroom, we can show you around, show you all the products, but then we also work with licensed contractors that that you're going to be getting the best quality, you're going to be getting the best service, and I think as with you, Chris from the furniture place.
Yes, Chris is amazing.
Does amazing
Chris
work.
Furniture Place, great
Chris,
builder.
Check him out. Local. He is so busy because he is so talented. He's been a woodworker his whole life. He's done probably tens, 20s, hundreds of different jobs for us in the past, and each job is new. Each job is completely different than most. And right now we're working on a barn up in Ocala. It's kind of a steel barn that they're transforming into. It's a steel barn that is for their horses, their show horses, but they turned the inside of it and they used all the resawn and made a beautiful ceiling throughout. We covered all the inside walls. Chris now is building massive barn doors for the entrance on both sides. It's kind of like a show barn, you know. They've got their show horses, and now they got their show barn.
That's
and
awesome.
We look forward to showcasing it to everybody so they can see all the different applications that it can be used for. Yeah. But we do have many wonderful licensed contractors that work with us that can really turn your vision into a reality.
If that rustic look is still really in right now, like every place that's going up from your armature works, everywhere they have the barnwood in there, so the commercial industry should consider reaching out to you to get their products when they're building their bars and their restaurants as well as a home.
Please do. You know, we like I said, we carry out so many different lines of products that can fit all needs, and we're even starting to merge in different flooring or different raw reclaimed custom flooring options that they can choose from. Another thing is box beams. Box beams are very, very popular, and we find that we're doing them all throughout the state of Florida and different homes throughout the Southeast now. Essentially because you don't want to put this heavy beam across your ceiling, or it's hard enough to install, but at the same time, much more expensive, to where you can have box beams built, and they just add a whole different character.
Oh, nice. I didn't know about the box beams.
See, we just keep coming up with new ideas.
Okay.
No restrictions anymore. We kind of give ourselves a fresh new business plan every year. You know, we don't want to stay stagnant in what we do, and we want to make sure that we're also and always offering different products. And again, we're one of the biggest around, and we would just want to make sure we can really service, everyone in the area.
Well, great. Well, I know you've been doing a great job, great product. If you want to see Nick, you can go to Hillsboro and check out his store, and all of his products are amazing. We're going to put links on the podcast in the show notes here so you can know where to find him. At CEA Marketing, we take your business, your passion, and your why, and we sell it. If you're unsure where to start marketing your company, CEA Marketing is here to help. Our team at CEA has tons of experience and top-notch training, which helps you take all the stress and confusion out of marketing your own business. After years of working with large companies like Pulte Homes, the Outback Bowl, and Metro Places, we guarantee the successful implementation of a marketing strategy. Now I want to get into the part of the podcast. I always like to talk about the business first, but we all got started somewhere, and I love Nick's story. Very interesting. Nick was a professional baseball player for over 16 years, and he played for my favorite team, the Cincinnati Reds. Yay, go Reds.
Go Reds.
And just an amazing story from how he got started in baseball to how he played for a long time, had a really long career in baseball, and also from there kind of going into starting his business. So tell me a little bit about baseball and how all that started for you.
A lot to talk about. I don't know if we have enough time. I'll try to keep it short. I was just truly blessed. I give all the glory to God for my health and always keeping me in a situation to succeed. I was so lucky to have wonderful parents that kept allowed me to keep a good head on my shoulders. For me, I grew up playing baseball since I was 5 years old, enjoyed playing the game. I didn't feel that I was any superior than anybody else as in Little League or as I started getting into high school. And for me, I just really enjoyed playing the game. And eventually I realized, well, I guess I'm kind of good at this. And, people start talking, and everything really happened for me pretty much after my sophomore year. Back then, 2000, I graduated in 2020 from Pinellas Park High School. And, it was pretty competitive those days, but not even close to as competitive as it is nowadays, with travel ball and all these wonderful things. So we had things like Legion Ball or separate tournaments that we would, go to. And I think it was one of my first tournaments over in North Carolina. It was a Northwest Professional Showcase, I think, and I got invited to, and I was like, great, I got invited to a showcase, like, you know, and I was doing pretty well. I wasn't any extra, you know, better than all the kids out there on the field at that time, and after my sophomore year, everything's kind of started clicking. So I went to this showcase, and I just kind of showed out, and I did really well. And I remember after that showcase, because I went through like one inning, and I was throwing really hard as a junior in high school, like 94, 95 miles an hour, and had some pretty good off-speed stuff. And yes. I remember Turtle Thomas. He was the head recruit and one of the coaches for LSU at the time. And I was, hugging my parents after I got done pitching, and after the game, and he walks up to me, hey, how do you feel about coming to LSU? And they were the best college team in the country at that time. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Wait, really?
Nice.
Okay. To me, it was just like a dream come true. And right away, I'm like, yeah, sure. My parents are like, wait, hold on, pump the brakes. Let's keep our options open. And so we kept open communication, and I signed after my junior year with LSU. I became highly touted throughout the country at the time. I think I got all the way up to like top 10 in the country between college and high school baseball players.
Wow, that's great.
And going into my senior year was like I was in cloud nine. I was feeling like I was the next Nolan Ryan, from just a young kid growing up in Pinellas Park, playing his dream, and, things kind of really
Were you getting lots of offers at the time when you were in college?
Well, towards the end of my high school.
They usually start in high school, right?
Yeah, in high school. And shoot, they're even starting in middle school these days.
So what made you decide to go to college instead of?
Well, for me, I wanted to just go to pro ball. Mm-hmm. I'm like, the way it works is, and as you know, you've got young daughters that were great volleyball players. Mm-hmm. Yes. And, you want to leave your options open. I wasn't the best student because I like to have fun and play baseball, but, my parents always made sure I got my academics first, and I did that, and I signed the full ride with LSU, but I was still getting all these different offers, so there were tough decisions. Florida, FSU, Miami, all the schools, and again, it was just a whirlwind for this little Pinellas Park kid, I'm like, and then I go to dinner at like Al Lopez's house in Florida, and he invites me to dinner at his house, and I'm like, okay, great, so we go up to Florida, we do the whole tour, and we're going around, and we go and have dinner, and at the end of dinner, he's like, man, Masset, we'd love to have you here, but, we're actually not going to waste our time on you because we know you're going to get drafted and go, not be able to turn down the contract that they're going to offer. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, because I'm a big Gator fan. So at the time, yes. I'm like, oh, man, really? Lopez just kind of shut me down, And I'm like, all right, well, I get it. Or I think I get it after my parents kind of explained it to me. And soon after, that's when I signed with LSU. But here's when it all comes crashing down.
Oh, no.
So my senior year, again, highly touted. All the scouts started coming to my games, and I was just young kid with all this testosterone and throwing as hard as he can. And I was kind of showing out in my bullpen, and I was throwing a lot. And this was the second game of the high school season. I came into the game, and about like 15 pitches in, I just threw one pitch, and my elbow snapped. Oh. So, again, 16-year-old kid, cloud nine.
A pitcher's nightmare.
Everything's like, got the world in my hands here and all these scouts, and I hurt my arm. And at the time, I didn't know what Tommy John was. And come to find out, that's what I needed. And luckily, having Coco Eaton here, one of the best orthopedic surgeons in the world, works with the Devil Rays, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was somewhat of a mentor for me, too, because we built a relationship, and then I worked with another gentleman named Larry Mayo, who you might have heard of. He's a wonderful rehab coach who was a head trainer in the major leagues with the Mets for some time, and then came down here and started his own practice, and I ended up training with him for about my whole career. But I did a lot of my rehab with him. He kind of helped, keep me motivated, keep me strong, training and going through that, and had the surgery and went through the rehab and still got drafted my senior year in the 8th round. And
do a lot of players recover from that?
Luckily enough, that surgery had been practiced quite a bit about for about the 10 years before that, 10 to 15 years, and they named it after the man Tommy John.
Right.
The surgery is an ulnar collateral ligament replacement, and it's where they take a ligament out of one other place of your body, and then they wrap it around your elbow to make it that much stronger.
Wow.
So after I learned the surgery, and one thing Coco Eaton told me, he's like, and I don't know if he was just trying to pump me up and keep my confidence up or whatever it was at the time, but he's like, Nick, the tendon we pulled out of your left wrist was the biggest tendon I've ever seen. And he's like, your elbow is going to be like bionic, man. And I didn't really think of it, as my career went on. But a really cool fun fact is usually the long longevity of the Tommy John surgery usually is only about 7 to 10 years max.
Before that wears out?
Before it wears out, and you need to have it again, or...
Where they take... I mean, what does that do to your other wrist, though?
It's pretty wild. It's just an extra tendon that you really
didn't need. You don't need it?
Yeah. When we're done with the show, I can show you what you can do to see if you have one.
Oh, wow. Lucky.
And for me, I'm like, okay, great. I got this cool bionic arm now. Let's go hard, right?
That's
so I trained hard, worked hard, kept my head above water, and again, the support I had behind me with my family and friends, and just being able to know that it's really all or nothing. This is my chance, and knowing that baseball is a business, I just got to give my all every day, and that's what I did rehabbing, and I think that was a tribute to all my strong rehab, which allowed my arm to carry out for so long. And then my shoulder went out.
How long do pitchers normally last?
It's not very long. It's almost like a running back in the NFL. Pitchers really only last about, I don't know the exact number, but it's a handful of years, right? The percentages are pretty insane of what it is from like getting drafted.
5 to 10 maybe?
I wouldn't even say that long, just due to the fact of it being a business, right? So once
and you pitched for 16?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
so that tendon really did some work for you.
I tell people...
That was on YouTube. That's amazing.
I tell people I tricked them long enough.
Yeah.
But also tricked myself long enough. And here's the beauty of baseball is all these kids have talent. They've got international drafts now. They're scouting, grabbing kids from all over the country or countries. And every one of these players have the talent, the physical talent. But at the end of the day, it's being able to deal with the day in and day out life's, highs and lows of the game. It's dealing with adversity. It's being able to pick yourself up after you give up a home run to Albert Pujols the day before. Guess what? You might face him the next day. But if you keep your head down, you're going to mentally, go down that rabbit hole. And for me, How did you keep yourself positive during those times? I didn't in the beginning, because I was a fierce competitor. And for me, how did I give up that home run? He shouldn't hit that off me. I'm better than that, and then you bury yourself in a hole. And luckily I'd worked with some other just baseball sports psychiatrists, here and there that would give you all these different keys that can, help you, put yesterday behind you and focus on today and the future. And it's so easy to dwell on our past experiences and whatever we do, but at the end of the day, it's focusing on what you need to do to help yourself perform at the highest level, because if you're doing that, you're helping your team. And
nothing you can do about the past. The only thing you can do is move forward.
That's it. You can learn from it, and you can better yourself from it. And that goes in all facets of life, business.
Absolutely.
Being a father, being a mother, just all these wonderful things that I learned through my experience of the game. And there's a lot of things that I'd done that I look back and I'm going, why'd I do that? But it was an experience.
So do you think the ones that might not have lasted as long, they kind of let the mental part of it get to them? It'll get the best of you. Yeah. And I think that, and I'm saying that I'm mentally better than all these other guys, but at the end of the day, if you can't deal with the adversity, you're going to be gone. Because if you don't put up and perform and play at the highest level, there's always another, young stallion behind you that can throw 100 miles an hour. But does he have the mental capacity to do it day in and day out? That's interesting. That's such a great analogy for business owners as well. Same thing. It's the exact same thing, because you can let a lot of things get you down, a lot of your failures, dwell on that, or the loss of a client or whatever that might be. There's so many things that happen to us. that can totally wipe us out.
Or the challenges in the economy, right? Or, inflation and all these things going up. You can get down and be like, oh, well, I can't do it. Well, it's finding a way. And if you give yourself, the benefit of the doubt, because we're only human, and, you keep your faith strong. And at the end of the day, you look at yourself in the mirror and you keep fighting. It's writing those goals on your mirror. It's those little things that are going to help you separates the boys from the men.
Because you're right. There's always that other younger business that's coming up like right behind you. So you have to stay strong.
You do.
I see that every day now, probably more now in my world than I ever have before.
I'm sure.
Because there's just all these like younger, like digital marketing and agencies like popping up everywhere. There's a lot of them.
I'm sure.
There used to be like some of us, but now there's a lot of us. I'm like, wow. And there's also an expert, like all these experts all over the place. So it's interesting.
And a lot of that has to do with technology, right?
Yeah.
And what they're learning in school that can carry over. But trends are always changing, or different services and technologies, but that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
That's what keeps CEA great.
You can let that bother you. You can be like, okay, I got this. I'm not gonna let that bother me. Like I'm like been doing this for how long? Like, okay, people, like no,
you are
push
seasoned.
them aside.
You have been doing this a long time. No one can take that away from you. You have earned that credit, earned that. You've earned it, and
it's a fight though, and it's a battle, and it's like you just mentioned. What you said was so powerful in so many ways.
Nothing's going to be given to you.
Right.
And I always wanted things given to me here and there. And I was, it's just, you're not going to thrive in society these days. Entitlement isn't going to take you anywhere. And I just think that there's so many noises and voices and energies that are flowing around. And I think if you just stick to your gut and your faith and all these different things, it can really take you a long way.
Can see that, and it took you a long way in baseball. So is there any other thing similar to that, like a learning curve that you learned playing baseball that helped you with your business?
Definitely. You kind of put me on the spot here, but yeah, I mean, I think that always knowing that tomorrow isn't certain always kept that fire in me. And it kind of, like I said, from baseball to business, whatever it is, you never want to just think things are getting done when you're not there, or you always want to feel like you're doing enough to make sure that you are covering all different avenues. And that's what keeps your sanity, intact, because if you're anything like me, you stress out when you're not where you need to be, or not where you need to be. If you're not in the showroom running the business constantly, and there's not two of us, but we can train these people to be, skilled employees to really be a product of what your dream is. And I feel like this is your dream, right? I mean, this is something you've always done. I've got to see the evolution of CEA just in the 4 or 5 years we've worked together. And I think it's beautiful. I like to see homegrown businesses thrive, and that's what we are. That's what you are. We were a small family-owned business that learned the tricks and the trades and how to, troubleshoot many different things. But at the end of the day, I think it's really about going out and being a go-getter and making sure that you're giving every ounce of your energy to outside of your family, to your business, so you can operate at a high caliber.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to like reset and rethink things and kind of reinvent yourself per se, because to to stay like in baseball as long as you did and to stay in business, like I'm going on my 26th year here, I've had to constantly reinvent myself or do things to keep my sanity. That's how the studio was born.
Yeah,
I was going to go
totally.
insane during COVID because I lost all the CEA business during that time. Nobody wanted to advertise. I'm like, okay, now what am I going to do? Well, then I created another business to keep myself occupied.
Yeah.
And here this place stands right now. So
And so cool. Something you might not have done if that didn't happen. So that's
No.
almost like a different yield that carried you on this path that, has brought you fulfillment.
Yeah, and it gives you that energy to keep going. And honestly, it was the best thing that we could do because video is where it's all at right now. Video, photography, podcasting, what we're doing right now.
Yep.
This is like modern types of content that businesses should be doing. And, if COVID didn't happen, would I have had a time to invest in something like that? Maybe, maybe not. But it definitely helped me during that time period not get completely depressed and want to, like a lot of businesses did.
Yes.
It was a tough time for a lot of us.
It was.
But just, the downturn was another time because, during the real estate crash, that was rough. We reinvented them because it was weird reinventing yourself. After that happened, I knew in my head that there was, either I needed to make a change for my business or I was going to go out of business. And so that's when I decided we were mostly traditional back then, like all newspaper, radio, media buying, all that kind of thing. I'm like, okay, so nobody wants to do any of that. Nobody has money to do any of that. So I'm going to start learning this digital marketing thing, and this new thing, social media, was around. So I decided I was going to become one of the first social media companies in the area. So we kind of jumped in and learned all that and transitioned ourselves because most of the other companies like mine went out of business, but we kind of moved that way. We're able to get other businesses and not home builders. Well, they were not doing anything at the time. So it kept us alive. And then when they came back, everything had turned digital.
Yep.
And so there were some people that didn't know how to, were still in the traditional phase. They went out of business. You had to know to make that switch to stay alive. So those kind of things is important. I think another thing for you is in playing baseball, which I know that probably the most difficult thing is being on the road all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So you really, work-life balance is probably something that's really difficult. How did you navigate through all that?
Well, just by playing professional baseball, when you're in the minor leagues, you're traveling on buses, you're staying in Hotel H, you're eating at Waffle House, and you're packing your bags every week. And you have to just keep yourself and your mind busy to be polished, to be able to play at a high caliber. So what I learned was doing, positive things or things that will, keep me dialed in at all times. And I kind of carried that over into my business life. And that was my family, right? So being around my family, I'm a family man. I give a lot of credit to my wife for all of the, support, and she's a very strong-willed person, and she helped push me in many different ways. And it was very difficult towards the end of my career because
you guys were together during your career.
Most of my career,
Most of it, yeah.
I had met her in Stockton, California when I was playing for the Stockton Ports in 2004.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that story.
And she continued on, and I wanted her to. I said, hey, honey, you continue on with your education. She ended up getting her business degree, and from there, she started traveling around with me, and we just took our time with our children, or took our time having children. And we had our first daughter, Eliana, and then a year and a half later, we had our second daughter, Nicolette.
Were you still playing baseball then?
And I was still playing baseball. And
then how did you work on the work-life balance during that time?
That's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
It's like I'm such a family man. I have such a huge heart for my family. And when I was away from them, it was difficult because you want to see your children grow up. You want to be around them all the time. But when they're starting school, and then my wife, jumping on 3 different planes to try to see me in different cities or driving and doing all that, it started to wear on me a little bit towards the end of my career. And I feel like I lost a little bit of the love for the game in such a respect. And it wasn't just because of family. It was because my arm was deteriorating. I was multiple surgeries. I had shoulder surgeries, and when I was with the Reds, because I had my better years there, and I led Major League Baseball, I think, for 4 years straight in games pitched. So I was kind of a horse, is what they called me. And I had Dusty Baker as my manager, who just won the World Series with the Houston Astros. And we were both with the Reds for those 6 years together. And the last 2 years, I had shoulder surgery, and I really couldn't come back from it. And then I had another neck surgery, and I was able to come back from it. And through that time, that's where my wife and my one daughter was born. And they were just like, they really kept me centered and balanced, and the love that they shared helped me carry on, because, like I said, a lot of surgeries, a lot of rehabs, going back to the minor leagues, staying at the spring training complexes, dragging them all over the place. And I'm just glad she just hung on for the ride, because it was a journey, and it's difficult. And if she was sitting here right next to me, she would say the same thing. But towards the end, that's kind of where my arm wasn't the same, and I had a second chance. But rewinding back a little bit, I was able to pitch for another 3 years after I had those surgeries after the Reds, and that's where I bounced around from the Marlins to the Braves to the Rockies and then to Washington. And but what I think I learned was just understanding that God has a purpose for me, and I really strengthened my faith throughout that time, and understanding that I'm not a product of just myself. I give a lot of glory to Him for the opportunities and the chances and the situations to be able to battle all the demons, and there's a lot of them when you're on the road. There's a lot of them when you are away from your family, and when you're traveling and staying in crappy hotels, back in the minors again and stuff like that. It just really wasn't resonating with me, and that's kind of when I called it a career. And it's funny, because right after I retired, I was like, oh gosh, thank God, I can put my feet up, I can lay back, I made a little bit of money, this and that. And then 2 years later, I'm like, all right, I want to get back in baseball, So luckily enough, I had things that always kept my mind fresh, and that was running different businesses.
Yes.
And we had talked a little bit about this before. I was in home construction, I was silent investing in a lot of properties, and I really enjoyed learning about home building and being able to rehab, taking an old house and turning it into a new, fresh home for, a new family.
And there was a lot of that going on after 2008. There's some good deals happening.
Good deals happening. We picked up some of those and then just kind of carried out, and that's where I really learned, that the building phases and what goes into it. And then
how'd you get into from there at the Barnwood industry then?
So that was from the the home building and stuff like this, and one of my ex-partners, someone had kind of run it across our desk, and we took a look at it, and we're like, Barnwood? What's Barnwood? And this is what I'm sure most people think about when they're like, oh, Barnwood, you're going to put it in the house, and you're going to do this. But then when you go, you put your hands on it, you see it, you understand where it's coming from, how it can be reused and repurposed. We fell in love. And that's when we kind of just jumped in full circle, and we're like, all right, let's give it a run. And I went from selling it out of the back of one of my builder's friends, DHM Construction down there in St. Petersburg, and I was just selling wood right out of his back lot. And I realized a lot of people were coming, they liked it, and then that's when we went brick and mortar. And
well, right about when you started your business is when the farmhouse craze started happening too.
Pretty much. It was
and the rustic, everything kind of changed from, with everybody remodeling and the hipsters and all the new types of restaurants and everything.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, completely changed everything.
That was kudos to Chip and Joanna Gaines.
What old is new? I mean, I'm sorry, what new? Yeah. How do you say that?
Yeah,
new is the old is now new.
yeah. And it's all really just people using their imaginations and creativities and being able to. I mean, look at this table right here. This was an old tree. This isn't barnwood, but it is a work of art. And this thing will be around.
I hope past through my family for centuries.
For sure. And it
so
will.
one thing they need to hold on to.
It's a killer card table,
Yeah.
killer podcast
Exactly.
table. You know, it can work for many different facets.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's from the, the wood tables, the Barnwood, the Edison lights that you're seeing.
Yes. And some of that stuff will go out of style
Yes.
through time. But, I mean, how can a beautiful wood table go out of style?
No.
You know, that will sustain.
Or
barn
even the use
doors.
of barnwood and barn doors, just a different way of designing it
Yeah, it's just a cooler
for the
wood.
trend.
You know, it's a unique, cooler wood that has characteristics that can't be
And
recreated.
the quality that stands the test of time.
It does. That's one of our pitches. It's
Yes.
true. You know, it's unique in its own way.
And,
In its own way.
So during the time opening up your business here, did it take off right away? Did it take a while? Like, what did you do to get the word out?
So we figured, all right, well, we're going to learn all the ins and outs of how to market a business. And that was right around the time, like you're saying, social media was bigger and bigger and using different content. So we kind of dove into that and really understood the ins and outs. We do a lot of marketing on Marketplace.
Yeah, I thought when I first started working with you, that was interesting to see. I think that's where you make a majority of your sales on Marketplace.
Majority of ourselves, we still ask people every day, you know, how'd you see us? Marketplace. Oh, how about Google? Oh, yeah, some people see Google. Or it's just being a storefront on Hillsborough Avenue now. But
And Marketplace doesn't cost any money.
no, it's free.
Yeah.
And it's free marketing. And that's kind of the beauty of social media marketplace. You
Yes.
know, it adds, and a lot of people how many people buy off Amazon these days? You know, why leave your home when you can have something sent to you or you can view it, you know, online. And that's when we build websites and it explains we have a showroom and then people can come in and be hands-on with the material. So we kind of worked, you know, we had our highs and lows, smiles and cries in the beginning of the business and understanding how to really get the name out there. But we also figured, you know, nobody else is really doing it.
Yeah,
So-
because like you mentioned before, your location was kind of off, the beaten track a little bit, not right on 19, but on like
a frontage road.
a frontage road, actually right here by the studio, down the street.
Yeah, right down the road.
Yeah, but if you wouldn't know, that you were there. But I know that a lot of people, you were really busy even being there in that kind of
busy.
location.
We were busy. So again, that's why we were like, all right, let's go get on a busy road where people can pull right off. So if you're ever driving down Hillsborough Road, big red building, Coast to Coast Barnwood, we're open 6 days a week.
So has that made a big difference in your sales compared
think it
to
has.
when you were here?
I think it has because we always ask our customers, kind of going back to that, like customers love coming in our showroom because it's such a unique product. And then when we talk to them, we're like, so how'd you find out about us? Well, we were just driving right by and we saw Barnwood, you know, and so people want to just pop in and their curiosity, you know, expands. And then that's where I think a lot of doing business properly, having the right employees, educating, the local market or the local, society, then it's word of mouth, right? Then Kelly goes and tells Jill or May or these people
I
that
tell everyone that comes in, where'd you get that?
Yeah.
And
that's all it takes is one cool wall. And these walls are conversation pieces.
They
Those
are.
doors are a signature statement piece.
They are.
And, I think that's what carries on. And I think we put a lot of pride into the foundation that we built and the way we're carrying it throughout. Again, it's just an enjoyable business. But once we realize there's kind of a dead end where you can only market so much, that's when, luckily enough, my cousin, who's like a brother to me, Brian Phillips with Cardell Homes.
I love Brian.
Brian's
one
wonderful.
of my favorites.
He's
one of my favorites.
He's my best friend, and we've been able to look at different ventures together and really chop it up about business and the home building. I got to do a lot with that with him, but he's the one who introduced me to you. And I remember at that time I was like, all right, well, I guess we need to start spending money on marketing, And after we brought your team on and we had troubleshooted all these different things and you cleaned up this and cleaned up that, we saw a huge influx in sales. And, kudos to you.
Thank you.
We're so lucky to have you on our team, and I can't say enough, just with all the different people that we've worked with CEA, everyone's been a pleasure to work with. They've been straight up. There's no bending, words. You guys are like, here's what you need. This is what's going to help you succeed. But you need to continue it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to continue it. You need to, that's the way you scale. Even though there's word of mouth and there's this and that, there's social content that can help expand.
If you want to expand and scale your business, you've got to spend money. You have to have some type of budget that goes towards it. And otherwise, you're always going to stay that same size business and never grow. But it also takes time. That's what a lot of people don't get is you can't jump in the first month and expect that you're going to get all these results. It takes a good probably 6 months before you're really going to be seeing the benefits of the money that you put in. It's an investment. So I want to make sure you're working with the right company that you're comfortable with that's handling all that for you.
Well,
but thanks for the plug, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's fun to make $1 million once, but where's the fulfillment in that? The fulfillment is making it 1 million times, right? It's really putting an effort in fulfilling it and working with a wonderful marketing group, and that's the best way to put yourself in position to succeed. It's just like me in my baseball career. It's the people that I surrounded myself with, or the psychologists that kept me primed and ready all times. I go out and I have a crappy game, All right, well, I can go bury myself in a pillow or go drink my face off, or I can get on the phone with my dad or one of my mentors or the people that are our assets that can really help us be the best that we can be. And people don't realize that in the business world or even into their own personal life. It's like life is a work in progress. If you want to evolve, you have to put in the work. And
surround yourself by the right people.
Yes.
On both sides. For the business, I find a lot of businesses trying to do a lot of stuff themselves, and they get buried. And you think you're saving money, but you're losing money. So develop a team. Get a great business coach. An awesome accountant, a really good marketing company that you can focus on. And it's going to cost more money for that, but in the end, you're going to see results. It's going to take that time away from you. That then you can spend on your business, bringing in more money.
To make it the way you want to make it, because each business is unique, and each business is different too. I'm lucky enough to where I'm in a specified business field where I don't have a whole lot of competition. So why not embrace that and try to leverage it to my ability? But then you have other businesses that are like, call it franchises or whatever, and that's a little different. But say you're a small business, you have to line up all those different things, and we didn't realize that. But it's worth spending that extra money, putting yourself in debt, because all companies, successful companies, start in major debt. Read the books; they're out there.
You're going to go in debt.
You're going to go in debt, and it's just when you put those chess pieces together, that can really help you succeed. You
have to be willing to take the risk.
You do.
Because with the risk comes the reward.
It's true. And that's where, it's fulfilling.
Yes.
Totally fulfilling. Totally fulfilling. But,
It is.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. And you get to see the results, right? And you get to see happy clients. And how fulfilling is it for you to see businesses like us or all these wonderful businesses that just doing all these, they're big things, but they're just the little things that really matter, but seeing them.
That's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
When I can see my companies grow, see them happy, know that they, stayed with us long enough to see it all work for them. That it's so nice. And also be able to develop that relationship with the client over time. They become your friend.
Yeah.
And it's just a really awesome experience.
And it's networking too, right? There's people who network for their own benefits, but then there's networking that people that really care about others to help create a better society or a better, workplace or, different options out there. And
absolutely.
I'm sure that's really fun.
It's all part of the circle of
business life.
Right,
or whatever.
Business life. There should be
it's
a name.
It's a new one, yeah.
We should have a name.
We got to trademark something
with
that.
Yeah, we do. We need to come up with a name for that. I like that though.
We'll spin on that a little bit.
Circle of life. There is a circle of business life that happens.
It is because it's just like in the home builders. They all network with the realtors or the home design centers and all these different ways to really put yourself or your business in the right position, because you're always going to go through dips and valleys. And you can't really hold your head down. That's sometimes where you need to go spend a little more or spend that extra 5 hours, up all night, because at the end of the day, and we don't have control, right, past that. So it's like throwing a pitch. I can throw a pitch 100 miles an hour right in the perfect spot, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to strike him out. There's still that chance he might hit that ball 500 feet over my head. And, the ball's already been thrown, the ball's already been hit, and it's on to the next pitch.
Yep, you just got to go on to the next pitch.
You got to go on to the next pitch.
That's
no matter what gets in your way.
No matter what gets in your way.
We're always going to have haters. We're always going to have debaters. We're always going to have politics and this and that. But if we, walk our line and surround ourselves around good people, at the end of the day, you're doing your best.
Yes.
Doing your best. So hopefully this gets out to the world a little bit and people can understand that,
Keep pitching that ball.
Chin up, smiles and cries, big gulps.
Absolutely. Yay. Well, this was a really fun podcast, and I'm sure my listeners learned a lot from you, Nick. Thank you so much. There's so much to be learned from, the sports side of what you learn from those times. I know I learned a lot from my figure skating time when I used to skate and compete and all that. Just turned you into a stronger person, I think.
It does. It really does. And you got to give everything an effort, give it your best effort. But thanks for having me.
Yay.
I'm so stoked to be here. I'm here anytime you want to get back on and chop it up.
Sounds good. I'd love to have you back on the show for sure.
Excellent.
And you can find Nick, again, on what's the address for your Hillsborough?
So Coast to Coast Barnwood, Florida. We are at 9743 West Hillsborough Avenue, open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5 p.m.
And your website is?
Coast to Coast Barnwood, FLA.com.
Great. And then social media?
Social media is Facebook. It's Facebook FL. And Instagram is Coast to Coast FL.
Yeah, make sure to follow them on social media. He's always displaying unique ways to, put the Barnwood in different types of rooms and different things that you can do DIY, all kinds of things. It's a fun Facebook page to follow. So
a lot of inspiration photos out there. Yep.
Love that.
Come down and see us.
Well, thanks again. And thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Learning Curves.
Second Soul Studios is a full-service production studio with capabilities for photo, video, podcasting, editing, co-working, and more. Our photo-video studio has a number of different backdrop choices and props to choose from. We also have a gourmet kitchen set, or if you're an upstart podcaster, you'll love our 4-person podcast studio. So what are you waiting for? Visit secondsoulstudios.com to book a tour today.